Next group that I look at are extracts. If you put jasmine flowers into a still, in the still you'll have trays with holes in. If you put jasmine flowers in there, what happens is one of the main components of a jasmine petal is wax. What happens is that steam melts the wax and then blocks the holes, so you get no distillation. Yeah? So for this, they had to find an alternative method. And the method that's used for this is solvent extraction. Yeah? You basically wash the flowers in an organic solvent, a solvent like petroleum ether, hexane, cyclohexane. Used to use benzene, but not nowadays. Yeah. And that basically washes the oil out of the petals. It breaks the cells. Yeah. So a hydrocarbon solvent. It dissolves the volatile oil. That's the one that we call the essential oil. It also dissolves non-volatile oil. So some of the oils that exist in a plant are also non-volatile. They're not all essential oil. Yeah, there are other oils in there too. So this will dissolve the non-volatile oils. Also dissolves the waxes. And will dissolve some colour too. In our mixture, we have volatile oil, non-volatile oil, waxes and colour. The waxes make up about 50%. So this material becomes solid. It's called a concrete. Because it's solid. Yeah. So if we were doing jasmine flowers, this would be called jasmine concrete. There's another step to this. Because we don't want the waxes in our finished compound, because it won't dissolve with, for example, orange oil, won't dissolve with terpenes. Yeah, we want to take those waxes out. So what we do is a second step, and we use alcohol to extract again. And then this extraction will give us the volatile oil. And colour. So if we get this concrete, we warm it slightly, we pour alcohol on top. As we stir it, these three items, the volatile or non-volatile and colour, move into the alcohol and the waxes fall out. Yeah? And then we take the juice off, evaporate off the alcohol. This gives us a product called an absolute. Absolute. The alcohol is critical that it's the purest possible alcohol that you can get. It should be 99.99% pure.
But you use ethyl alcohol or
Sorry? Ethyl alcohol, yeah. Only ethyl alcohol. Well, because if you have contaminants, if you imagine that you have in here, you have your wax here. Yeah, your wax has fallen out, and then you have, let's say, this much perfume absolute in this much alcohol. What happens when you evaporate the alcohol? All the contaminants become super concentrated in the absolute. That's why the alcohol must be really, really pure. Yeah. Anybody ever smelt jasmine essential oil? Yes? No such thing.
There is something that's called jasmine
No. There's jasmine oil.
Yeah, jasmine oil.
There's jasmine oil, which could be jasmine absolute dissolved in an oil, but there is no essential oil of jasmine. It's not distilled, it's not expressed, it's extracted. This comes important for some people doing aromatherapy, because usually absolutes cannot be used in aromatherapy because of their trace components from the alcohol and other things. Yeah. So if you wanted to make a natural perfume, essential oils and absolutes, fine. If you wanted to make a long-lasting perfume with essential oils, what's the problem? Volatile. The very process of producing the essential oil has only extracted the volatile oils. And that's why I emphasize the non-volatile components of absolutes. If you want to make a perfume last longer, generally, it's very difficult with only essential oils. Yeah? Because these are all volatile components. Yeah? There are some exceptions, like agarwood, vetiver, sandalwood. But nowadays, they're very, very expensive materials. Yeah. I mean, sandalwood now is around $2,000 a kilo.
Isn't the use of sandalwood also banned to an extent?
Yes, yeah. And unfortunately, we can't legally buy Mysore sandalwood from India. Yeah.
But there's a lot of Australian sandalwood I've heard.
Well, from Mount Romance, most Indian sandalwood, believe it or not, comes from Australia. Now, yeah. Yeah. It's actually shipped it back over to India, but it's a different species. Yeah. The Santalum spicata, which is the Australian sandalwood, is a bit fresher, a bit more coarse. Doesn't have the same richness as the Santalum album, which is the Mysore East Indian sandalwood. Extracts, typically nowadays, absolutes and things, will make up probably less than 1% of a perfume compound. The method of using extraction is more expensive. The yields are lower. Takes 1,000 kilos of rose petals to make about 1 kilo of rose absolute. And if you imagine 1,000 kilos of rose petals, that's about a container, a 40-foot container load. Yeah, just to make 1 kilo.
I was asking a question about, you talking about jasmine and the new 140th amendment restrictions on jasmine. Does that mean that it's not really going to affect most commercial fragrances because it's not used that much in that high quantity?
That's right, yeah. But one of the sad things with like Rose Absolute contains about 2.5% of a thing called methyl eugenol, which is restricted to, I think it's about 2 or 20 parts per million. I have to check, yeah, 0.002%. So nowadays, Rose Absolute is almost banned. And that's actually happening to most citrus oils because of other components which we'll go into later.